And I think that you're really talking about kind of the collision of a couple of trends here. So recently I saw on Twitter that you were talking about this idea that like science is not consensus driven, right? That's
Yes.
kind of the whole point of science. But then how do you balance that in your mind with things like content moderation and censorship, where there are accepted norms, there's accepted pieces of information, and sometimes actually the people who end up having the breakthrough are coming from a place that was previously thought to be taboo or false even. And like, how do you sift through that as you're taking all this input of information and trying to really kind of come up with maybe not a conclusion, but actually like a thesis as to how you think the world will move in the future?
So a few different things. So on the sort of institution of science itself, where there's actually a lot of negative things about institutionalization, but science as a process does not depend on a consensus. It just depends on a conjecture. There's evidence, based on observations from a hypothesis, a conjecture, and then you can make a reasonable conclusion, basically tentatively held. Nobody ever says with certitude, this is what is. And oftentimes old ideas get replaced by better explanations, or bad explanations get replaced by good explanations. And that's how science progresses. I think it was Linus Pauling, I may be messing up the attribution, who said that science proceeds one funeral at a time. And so a lot of the old guard who gets famous and, gets a chaired department and has all the postdocs that want to work for them and gets the fame and gets the appointments and gets the board of directors at engineering companies, got famous in many cases for, flawed or bad explanations that were widely accepted until some young hotshot, full of piss and vinegar, basically is like, no, I don't think that's the way it works. And then, they upturn it and this process repeats. So there's a predictability to the unpredictability of how science itself advances. When it comes to, policy, whether it's, for a city or for a company or for how somebody runs their family or the choices that you make of what you put in your body, that is less about science itself as a process and more about prescriptions and advice and risk management. When it comes to, sorting through everything that you might read online and, recommendations and, criticisms, that's just all sort of analysis based on, what everybody's putting out there. But science itself, I feel, just sort of absolutist about it, is a process that is just constantly trying to come up with better and better questions and better explanations. But it's an endless process because whatever we hold to be tentatively true today is very likely to be overturned in, some point in the future by somebody that's just come up with a better explanation.